Welcome back to Film Study, an all-American podcast with Lexi. I'm Lexi, and I have Kendra back. I'm so excited.
Yay!
Yes, so happy because we always have a good time. Just in general, yes, on our last review, but also just we talk to each other every week.
Yes, absolutely.
So, episode 14. Oh my gosh, I know I should have the title of the episode, but I forgot to get it.
I think I forgot to.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. In the meantime, we don't have a title yet. What were your thoughts on it?
That was so. I thought the episode flowed pretty good, and I'm surprised because I've been disappointed lately, except for the last episode. But everything was lining up pretty good. I
Yeah,
thought.
yeah. And I just got the title. It's Ready or Not.
Okay,
So it's Ready or Not.
so that's right.
And I agree. I feel like lately it's just been, and we've talked about this, but like with the breaks, and we obviously understand the breaks because they were shooting in the middle of a pandemic, and they've wrapped, by the way. So congrats
Yes.
to them for wrapping and in shooting a whole season of a show in the middle of a pandemic and still getting, starting basically. I mean, they pushed it back a couple of months, but like start to finish with no major, like we had that month and a half break, but there was no, like, I know some shows got like 3-month breaks. So
Right.
for them to work so hard and get these episodes out to us, um, bravo to them and props to them, and so grateful. Uh, with that being said, some of the middle of the season was a little bit choppy.
Oh man, I think I just want to write some of it out of my memory bank. I do. I think there's about 5 episodes where it's like I just want to erase it. And yeah.
Kendra, I promised myself that I was like, I'm not gonna laugh hard at this one, so I don't have to like edit it out. You already have not like erase it from your memory.
I
Yeah, it was. In Here's the thing: I didn't think that they were bad. I thought that they were all good, but I felt like this episode, it for the first time, it felt like, okay, we're starting to get back to sort of like the normal quality all American that we're used to, if that makes
Yes.
sense. And I feel like the
Yes.
last episode we had that was that quality and that like focused, even though there was a lot going on, was Testify
Right.
about Liv's sobriety. And so, but yeah. So
Just
with all that being said, we've talked about it.
just everything from the actual storylines to the dialogue
Yeah.
to the writing to the down to the props, wardrobes, and uh the acting. Everything was, I think, more put together
Hmm.
and didn't seem hurried. And then, like you said before, the editing didn't look like a rushed editing process.
No, yeah. And everything made sense. Like the character interactions made sense. I know there was some questions last time, but like what does, as far as relationships on the show go, like where are Layla and Olivia? Where are Layla and Spencer? Where are Spencer and Coop? Where's Spencer and Olivia? Like just so many questions because we get scenes with some and then we don't get scenes with others, and then like the very next episode they could be like acting like total strangers, you know what I
Right.
mean? And so this one felt like all of the character interactions made sense. We got to see what I'm gonna talk about. Finally got to see Layla and Coop interacting with people who weren't each other,
Right.
which was just refreshing. There was no
Yes.
Asher, Vanessa, or JJ.
Oh, I was so happy. And that's one of the reasons why I think the episode flowed better.
Yeah. No, I agree because it was just like, all right, we're focusing sort of like on the, no offense to them, but we're focusing on the core, the main people.
Right.
And you know what? Now that you say that, I'm just like, this was more family centered, and thinking about some of the other episodes in like season one, season two, it felt good to get back to those like family storylines too.
It did.
Because I felt
It
like
did.
that it in a way it felt like we were coming back to All American, like just because it was centered around family too.
Yeah, they definitely had a family theme,
Yeah.
uh, especially with the Bakers. Uh, with not jumping ahead, but with
No, you're good.
Laura's Laura's mom coming to
Yeah,
visit,
what's her
and
name? Wendy? Yeah,
Wendy from the Windy City.
Wendy.
Yes.
Wendy Fine. I always find it hilarious that her last name is Fine. That's an aside. But anyway, yes, people, we're going to get to the reviews. So starting out the episode.
Yes.
But starting out the episode, we see Spencer and Jordan. And Spencer's working out, and Spencer was like angry off the bat for what?
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of old Spencer. I was
It
like,
did.
yeah,
That's probably
I
why it
like
felt
that.
like All American too. It's because Spencer, we weren't even 2 seconds in. Spencer's already yelling at Jordan, like, did you go and visit Dr. Spears? And Jordan, with his little nicknames, talking about some Dr. S.
Yeah, he's like Dr. S. Okay.
Yeah. And we saw that Jordan did, go and visit him. And actually, I think he said visit him twice. At first, I thought he was lying. But
I
then he
did too.
started to talk and he was just like, yeah, he said, um, doing things that like bring me joy or whatever. Uh, he said that can heal me faster. And I was just like, so Dr. Spears is co-signing on this. Okay.
Right. Yeah, I noticed that too. I thought he was lying too at first.
At
But
first,
then
but then it just seemed like he was telling the truth.
yeah, Spencer looked like he was getting told the truth. So I said, well, I guess if he takes it, then I'll take it as the truth.
Facts. Exactly. And so they do whatever they're doing, exercising or whatever, and then we see Billy Baker. This is hilarious because the day that I dropped the
Yes,
video about him being a trash father
I noticed that. Yeah.
is the day that we get this episode where he's kind of sort of not being a trash father. He's over here making Laura some lunch or a snack or whatever, giving Liv some donuts specially made for her. Her face like lit up with these donuts. He's calling Laura's mom to come visit, making mimosas for Laura's mom, ensuring that Liv is okay, and getting GW, who he doesn't even talk to that much, to drive Liv to school. I was just like, who are you? And what have you done with Billy?
And see, this is where I think that there's a difference in the writers. So maybe it was a difference in whoever wrote this particular, or maybe not. Maybe not, because Billy has had, okay, was it episode 9, 9,
After he
10,
was prompted.
11,
But I
12,
feel like
13.
unprompted,
Yeah, that's right. That's true.
he had that moment in 9 where he gave the voicemail. But like, I was very shocked just to see off the bat, Laura's not telling him, check on Liv. Like, yeah, Grace is not telling him to check on his kid. I don't know. It was just really weird to see him do all of this stuff unprompted.
Right. But it's
So
been five episodes. Oh,
we're still stuck on that because this
yeah,
episode
it's taking
it felt like a return of
a
felt like a return. I'll leave it at that. But to your
okay.
point, the writer who I think is Jamal or Jameel Turner, something like that, um, you can tell he's black, and I thought that just watching the thing because there were too many nuances in the dialogue.
Yeah.
Like, I'm jumping all around here, but and we'll get to all of these things, but between, the plastic on GW's couch, Grace saying thank you, Jesus, like when Spencer got that scholarship, Spencer making the Huey from the Boondocks joke, Jabari saying, look at God, like I don't know, there were
Yeah,
just
that's right.
too many things. It then showed the greens and the yams, even though that food looked totally uncooked. It was just I was just like a black writer had to write it just like the dialogue was flowing easier, like I don't know. It was just this was the
and
one. This was the episode.
and maybe that's why I said I enjoy the dialogue better. I didn't even really I did notice some of those things, but well, mainly the props, not the actual dialogue, but
Mhm.
and maybe that's why I enjoyed it because it was more familiar to me
Yeah.
than,
Yeah,
like I said, some of the other dialogue I know in the past where I've had an issue with, and I'm like, a teenager would never say that, or
exactly.
Spencer would never say that. I don't even know why they put that in there. So
For sure, for sure. And which is again like the small things like Spencer making a joke about the Boondocks is this is what young black men talk about is the boondocks
right.
style. Like this is part of black culture. So it was nice to see those little nuances put in the script and put in the dialogue and even in the set design for GW's house. What were we talking about? Oh yeah. Billy B actually being a father and a husband, yes, and inviting Laura's mom, Wendy, who we found. And I'm not gonna lie, I expected Wendy to be completely different than what she turned out to be.
I didn't know what to expect, but I like Wendy.
Same. She came in, started like giving advice, fixing things, talking about sex.
Yeah, she was like, okay, we had enough here.
I was like, "You're 5 minutes in, and you already all up in their business." Okay, Grandma.
It seemed like she loved Billy more than Laura loved
It's
Billy.
true. This is so true. This is so true. And we saw that between her and Laura, like they, as we saw, have two different views of the criminal justice system, which she called the criminal legal system for a reason.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was something new I've never heard it like that before, and it really got me to thinking about, how I view the justice quote
Yeah.
system.
Yeah. No, and the thing is, I have heard it before, but um, yeah, I was just very surprised that they put that in the episode, and I think it's so true, and it makes us think about things in a different way because it really isn't right. It really isn't a justice system. There are legal codes, and that's why people talk about codifying things into law because like law can be changed, and yeah, law can be leveraged, and there are
Yeah.
lawyers for a reason.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that view. She had a very like real view, whereas we saw that Laura was more hopeful, I think,
Hmm.
um, and a little bit more like trusting, maybe, of that she can make a difference, whereas her mom had just I don't know if it's a deeper understanding, but just like a more seasoned understanding because she had more experience um, about what it would take to get to get the police indicted.
And I wonder if I don't know how long she had been in Chicago. Right,
Hmm.
she was in Chicago, right?
Yeah, Chicago.
Okay, so I don't know how long she had been working or did her legal work in Chicago, but maybe there's a difference in how they view things because Laura's primary district or whatever was in Los Angeles,
Yeah.
Beverly Hills, the suburbs,
No, yeah, you're
basically.
right. You're right.
And there's a huge difference in
It
maybe.
is, and I just want to see more of her. I think she brings a interesting perspective for the other characters, actually.
I do. I want her to come back.
Yeah,
I
I want her to
really.
come back. I'm like, she better not be here for just one episode. If we're seeing Ashy Asher's parents all the time.
And it's good for Laura's character because I was kind of looking at Laura like a fly on the wall.
Hmm.
We didn't really have there was like I called her, her character was too pristine, too clean,
Yeah.
but there wasn't too much going on. We didn't know too much about her. I mean, we knew a little bit about her background, but not any of her family members, and it's like, okay, this gives her a little more substance.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, and we'll, as always, go a little bit out of order here, talking about Liv's potential indictment, which I'm gonna be honest, I it wasn't that big of a deal to me.
Right.
Because it lasted like a couple seconds. We didn't hear about it until sort of like halfway into the episode, and then by the end of the episode, it was resolved. And so I know people were freaking out on the Twitter timeline, but I'm like, it's in the grand scheme of things, based on what Liv has been through just in the past 5 episodes, as we've
Yes.
talked about, this is nothing.
Right. I
And
knew they were gonna I knew they were gonna clean it up somehow by the end of the episode, because they weren't gonna drag it out
yeah, yeah, that would have been
another
too much.
episode.
And Laura and Liv finally had a conversation about how they view the world, and had a good lengthy for the show kind of
See,
conversation.
I was so caught up in the moment and the dialogue. I've been wanting them to have a conversation, and here they had one, and I didn't even say anything about it. Like, it just flowed
It went
so
over your
well.
head because there was so, but
Yeah.
yeah, because it was just like, okay, this fits, like this makes sense that they're having this conversation right now.
Yep. Didn't even realize I hadn't said anything about them not having a conversation because they have one.
Yeah. Yeah, which is interesting too. Just a quick point on the indictment thing. Some people I saw were saying that Liv was, that she was impulsive, and I sorry, but I disagree with that. Like,
No.
I respectfully disagree with that sentiment. Even when she was right, we saw her and she was just like, "Oh, I'm gonna turn myself in." What did she say right after that? She said, "I talked to Grandma Wendy and she took me through the process of what that would mean, and at worst, I would get a fine." And so, yes, maybe the act of turning herself in maybe was impulsive, but it's not like she didn't think through what that would mean for her.
Right. I don't think she was impulsive.
Yeah, but the people are, based on recent events,
Yeah, yeah, based on
have a
recent
very
events.
interesting view of Liv, and I had to get that one off my chest. I'm like, Liv is not impulsive. Spencer is impulsive, yes. Liv,
Yes.
not impulsive. She does things, but she thinks them through, even if. And that's the other thing I wanted to say is like making a quick decision is not the same as being impulsive. If you're thinking through a quick decision, then that's just a quick decision. But if you're actually being impulsive without thinking things through, that's being impulsive.
But when she does things, she's willing to accept the consequences.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not, she doesn't necessarily like the consequences, but she's willing to take them.
yeah.
Whereas someone else would try to maybe backtrack or get out of them, but she
Hmm.
accepts what she does.
Yeah, and yeah, that point too, because there's been some conversation around that too, and I'm not one who ever thought that Liv wasn't accountable, like for her actions. I feel like in season one, even if she maybe immediately in the moment may have sidestepped some stuff or something like that, she would always come back maybe like the episode later and apologize, and own up to her part in it. So I'm not really of the vein that that she's not accountable.
Oh, she's definitely accountable.
This, yeah, basically we stand live on this podcast and don't come for us.
Oh yeah, all day. I have no issues with what she did. None.
None whatsoever. And little tidbit here is, it was really cute to see Jordan and Liv finally have a conversation. It was just a family episode, and I loved it.
Almost all the conversations that needed to be had were had.
Yeah, and
Almost.
even some that like didn't necessarily need to be had, but was just nice to see because we don't get to see it often. Going back to Jordan Liv, going back to like Billy being an actual father and doing things for his family, like foreign concepts
Yes.
this season. barring some like national emergency. Anyway, so that was the whole Baker or half of the. Should we touch maybe? Okay, well, since we're talking about the Bakers, we'll also touch on Billy and GW and GW co-signed Jamone. I was
Right.
shocked. An episode ago, he didn't even know her name, and now he's just like, I guess all it took was hearing Jordan talk about how in love he was, and that reminded him of his late
It's-
wife.
Yep. Mary, right?
Yeah, Mary, what did you think about that?
Uh, I mean, I don't know. Going back to the writers, the writing.
Hmm.
Um, Sometimes when they have different writers, the characters will flip flop or get out of character.
Yeah.
Character will get out of character. So hopefully it stays consistent
Hmm.
because GW hasn't been the most pleasant person, and he actually seemed more tolerable this episode,
Yeah.
like lovable even.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'm
he was
hoping
running,
this,
go and get
yeah,
Liv's food and stuff.
yeah,
Like, and maybe that's the nature of I. I don't know if we said this on the podcast, but it was NK said the showrunner said that she's not really a fan of having someone be just a villain
that's right, that's right.
without redeeming him and or them. I'm specifically talking about GW now, but without redeeming him. And so with GW, he's been on the show now long enough where it was like we never, you know, besides his sort of interactions with Jordan, which again was a little iffy because he tried to get Jordan to give him some money, but
Yeah. He
besides
did.
his interactions with Jordan, we haven't really seen him be like a character that we root for. Um, in this episode, turned it around in a way that made sense. Like, maybe arguments could be made that, oh, why didn't they talk about Billy's mom earlier in the season? But I don't know. It felt connected and it felt
Good
like,
timing.
yeah, good timing to sort of touch on what actually happened with Billy's mom. And yeah, just again, props to the writer because it made sense. It made sense that this was the episode that they talked about it.
And then going back to the original question you asked me about GW and how he felt about um Jordan and Simone. He's really always kind of been a fan of Jordan anyway. I mean, he gives him
Yeah,
he's rough on him, but he's not, he loves Jordan,
for sure.
and he's
And
he's a
is
fan of
pushing
him.
him to greatness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he pushes him.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good point. That's a good point. So exiting out of the Baker/Fine household. um, let's go on to the storyline that is, your chosen family, which is the Coop's 18th birthday storyline.
Okay.
Um, the flashbacks, wow. The flashbacks were something else, not gonna lie.
Yeah, see, that's another thing. That this episode had much, so
Yeah.
much in it.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted to cry a little bit on the part
Seriously, when
on the
Sean
part
was talking about being alive?
yes. But you know what? That's our reality.
Yeah.
That's our reality. Young black men, are at risk of dying before they even see adulthood.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, yeah, I make it a point to in my family that we all celebrate every year of life
Mhm.
because we're on borrowed time.
Truly. Truly. And I don't know if it was like this for you, but when, I saw these flashbacks and specifically that moment where Sean said, I want to be alive, it just took me back to season 1
Yes.
and thinking about how he almost made it out.
Oh my goodness.
Alright. And I'm gonna applaud the writing again for this. When Monda don't come for me,
And I guess, but you know what? At the same time, when we look at Sean, what he said was, even though I know I said that, it's a blessing to reach the age as a young black male, the age of 18 or whatever.
Hmm.
But Sean already had in his mind at a young age, I'm just surviving.
Yeah.
And that was apparent in season 1, that he carried himself as if it was at that last minute that he, like you said, he made a decision. He was gonna get out, and he was
Stop,
gonna
Kendra.
make a
Don't
life
make
for
me
his daughter.
cry on this
He was gonna make a
podcast.
life. I'm just saying,
But
he
it's
kind of
so
followed that.
true. It's like we talk about Spencer carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders, and Sean carried it in a different way.
He
Like
did.
you're absolutely right in the sense that that last episode when he let himself be happy, almost carefree for a second. He like let
Mm-hmm.
himself dream and
Yep.
envision a better life. Ugh, ugh, only
Yeah,
to be
I
taken
know.
away. Like, yeah, the flashbacks and specifically that line got me.
That is
I
definitely that is definitely a black writer writing that.
yeah,
If we
yeah,
feel it and they wrote it like that and we understood it, then that was definitely, you
yeah,
can done.
yeah. Now I gotta share a joke because we gotta like
I know.
stop
Shift
that.
energies.
No, but can we talk about why was Sean's like young Sean so short, like shorter than Spencer? I was very confused about that because in previous flashbacks we've seen, they were like the same height, right?
Right. Is that the same Spencer?
I don't think so. I think they got a
Oh,
new
because I thought
Spencer because
maybe.
that was
Okay.
the same Spencer from the little clip that Coop did a couple episodes ago.
Oh,
But I
okay.
don't know. I don't think it was the same Spencer from like the season 1 flashbacks that we saw. The other thing is, sorry, on this point, Coop visiting Sean's grave, which um Monda was right about. Coop visiting Sean's grave. She was talking about like visiting his daughter, and it was a touching moment. But also, I was just like, Coop, you ain't never mentioned this daughter like
I
before
know.
this episode.
It was one of those things where, okay, we didn't see whatever it is that she
Exactly.
says she's been doing.
It's like you can't just be bringing this up like 2 seasons later, like as a shoehorn thing. That was a lot, but the joy, pain, sunshine, rain thing was just so. It was nice. It was nice, and we saw Coop being reflective of that, and Spencer too. And I'm gonna real quickly hop to like Layla and Preach, and then come back to the Coop birthday
Okay.
storyline. But obviously, Layla and Preach had this thing where they were trying to figure out what to do for Coop, and she was just like, that was weird a little bit to me. Like when the flowers came, and she was like, "Thank you." I was just like, is she saying thank you to Layla at first?
Yeah. Yeah, that
Like,
was.
because it was like right when she sat down. Like I don't. It was like simultaneously, like the flowers came and Layla sat down at the same time, and then they were just like, "Oh, you didn't tell me it was your birthday," and I'm like, "Wait, how does Preach not know Coop's birthday?" Like,
Yeah. I mean, they're supposed to be
they were
his
in a
his
gang
lookout.
together.
Yeah, in the gang. Yeah.
Like, that one was a little bit of a stretch for me, where I was just like, Preach doesn't know Coop's birthday. I don't know. It was
I don't know.
interesting.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. It just seemed a
Well,
little
I
bit.
guess I could kind of see it. I could kind of see it.
I can kind of see it, but
Because
it was just
maybe.
funny that both of them didn't know. And I'm like, y'all spend every day together because you ain't been in no other scenes with nobody. So, I don't understand how you don't know it's her birthday, but that's fine. As we know, the flowers were from Patience, and then they were trying to figure out like what to do for her party. Uh, what else? Yeah, they were just like Preach was just like, yeah, I don't want you to mess it up. That girl calling Lila that girl. And they ended up doing a study hall kickback.
Yeah,
How
that
much
was.
studying does Coop need?
Yeah, I guess she needed a lot because
She did it a
she's been
lot. All the
she
extras in that scene.
they've been helping her with her schoolwork for the last 4 or 5 episodes.
Seriously, like the past 6 episodes, they've been helping her with her studying. And I'm like,
Actually,
we
since the
have
beginning of the school year, because
legit. And
she was
can we
missing
talk about
class.
this? They had all these extras coming out of nowhere. And I'm like, we can't get a party scene, but we have this study hall
Yeah,
kickback where all these randoms are here from for Coop.
exactly.
Um, and one of the randoms being Carrie.
Yes.
Yeah, Carrie and Liv, obviously Liv is like, telling Carrie about she's confiding in Carrie. And because she probably feels, more so alone um recently. And we
Hmm.
see that did you actually notice this that Layla asked Carrie about her parents? Did you notice that?
Yes, I did. When I went back and watched it the second time, I did
Same.
notice.
I was just like, "Ooh, I didn't catch this," but she did ask
Yep.
about her. Layla wasn't just like, uh, she wasn't just like lackadaisically going along like I originally thought. She did have some questions, but they just didn't stick.
No red flags.
No red flags. No red flags. What were your thoughts on that? I know you had some thoughts on that.
Um, I, I don't know. Just I guess the part where this is probably a little bit later. I can't remember. Where got the missed calls from her mom,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm
Yeah.
like, are her parents crazy, or is
Yeah, it
she
was
not
just
where
so
she's supposed
weird.
to be?
It was so weird, and it makes me think that, or like that she's running for her parents because Layla specifically asked about her parents. Um, and then she said, "I'm obsessed with Coop." Who's obsessed with Coop? Like, and apparently she hadn't even met Coop, so and Layla was just like, "Oh, you just want to meet Coop," and I'm like, "No one is that hype for Coop's music."
Yeah, this is going to be that character is going to be very interesting
It
to.
was giving me mysterious, and it was giving me the feels that I got at the end of last episode, which is like, we gotta watch out for you.
Yeah, we gotta sleep with. She has to sleep with one eye open.
She does. She really, really does. She really, really does. Uh, and then I know this is at the ending, but I'm gonna talk about it anyway. Preach getting a daughter.
Yeah.
Uh, so many people thought this, and I'm gonna be honest, I was one of those people. I really thought I didn't see the little girl at first, but I thought Preach was about to get shot. Like just seeing him like come out of the car.
Oh, I already knew what she wanted when she walked up to him and she was real sassy. I was like, I already know what she's gonna say. I'm your because I said it. I was sitting there watching the TV by my husband, and I said it before she said it. I'm your daughter.
I knew she was gonna be the daughter too once I saw that it was a little girl, but like wait, but there was a couple seconds where Preach was just standing there by himself, and I was just like, is this man gonna get shot? Obviously, All American just
I hope he
traumatized us, so
doesn't.
now anytime a character is alone, you're just
Oh
like,
gosh.
I
I hope they don't do anything to preach this season.
don't think they will. I think Preach is gonna be
Okay.
fine. He has a whole daughter to take care of now. Obviously.
Well, and then then I thought about it and I'm like, well, what if Mo is just playing games and she's just trying to distract him? What if she's a decoy or something?
That's a good point. That's a good point. We'll talk about that when we get to the
Yeah,
predictions.
yeah. Okay.
Um, Last point on this, I just found it funny that Layla said, "You poured so much into us, Coop, that we wanted to thank you." I'm like, what? What has she poured? That girl don't do nothing. Goodbye.
They always give Layla those lines, and it's like,
Exactly. Stop
uh,
having her out here looking
no,
crazy.
no, that didn't happen.
Legitimately, I don't
Oh,
understand.
yeah, that's okay. Going back to what you were asking about Carrie,
Mm-hmm.
and you said, what did you think about that? Carrie said, you need to give your friendship with Coop more credit than you're
Yeah.
doing. And it's like, well, what friendship really? I mean, they study together. No, they don't study together.
Yeah, they studied together. They
They
studied
studied
together.
together? Okay.
Yeah.
But what friendship? I mean, I don't I don't
That is
know.
interesting. That the I can see a friendship just because I'm like, at least, before I remember last season, Layla was just like, "Oh, Coop, you're the only one who's like treating me normally." Um, After she got out of rehab, and then that's when they started working on music together or whatever.
I
But it's not like a deep friendship at
I
all.
guess I'm looking at it as Coop may be her friend, but she's not Coop's friend. She's just Coop's business partner. That's kind of how I'm
You
looking at
mean
it.
like Coop just views her as a business partner?
Yeah, yeah. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
kind of
But that's what I'm
one-sided.
saying. Like, poured so much into us. Like, ma'am, you do more for her than she does for you.
Way more.
Way more. And I'm like, Coop doesn't care about anybody but Coop. And on
Yeah.
occasion, Patience and Spencer.
Yep.
On occasion.
I agree with that.
And
And
maybe
this season
Grace.
her head has gotten swollen with the whole I need my name bigger
Truly.
on the shirt, and they're gonna be listening to my name and my name in lights and
This
blah blah
ma'am,
blah.
ma'am, like
Right.
doing the most
And
for
have
no
several
reason.
seats.
And now Carrie's talking about I'm so obsessed with her. Like, no, no, we're not doing that today.
You're the
You
only
don't.
one.
You don't lie so I can say that. No, I'm kidding. TikToks. Oh my gosh, I cannot with Coop. Yeah, that was really that was interesting for sure.
Hmm.
I was gonna say something and I forgot. Oh, the last point on the whole Layla and Carrie thing. Didn't Coop tell Layla the exact same thing? Like you're not giving, but instead of it being about Coop, it was obviously it was about Liv. Like you're not giving your friendship with Liv enough credit. I feel
She
like that's like a
did.
verbatim line. Yeah, I've noticed that.
She
And again, like
she did say that.
I I don't know where they're going with Layla, like with that and with these characters saying these things to her because I when I heard that line, I thought about this similar things that I thought about when, Spencer, in my opinion, was like mansplaining Black Joy to Liv. Is like, why are you I don't know, like why are we having these characters have to explain things that they should already know, like at the point that they're being explained to? Um, I don't know, and they're always just like, "Oh, you're right, like that does make sense." And it's always like the the women characters. I don't know. It's just maybe it's just me. Is it just me, Kendra?
And it's like that part where Coop told in was it previous episode or the episode before that where she told Layla that with guilt you either gotta
Do something
do
with it.
something positive with it or let
Yeah.
it go.
Yeah.
Um so I don't know. I don't
Yeah, it's just I'm because that they've now had two people say this to Layla, I'm curious to see, like in regards to her friendships, I'm curious to see what happens in the next couple episodes, and we'll talk about all of the wonderful descriptions that we've gotten in photos and stuff when we get to the predictions part. But
oh,
yeah, there's some interesting stuff there, and obviously the biggest storyline was the Spencer recruitment storyline, where Spence was back
okay.
on his season one.
Okay, so
You said I'm
someone
ready
had
to talk about this one.
yeah, someone had pointed this out and I read this early this morning. I just happened to be reading it.
Hmm.
Actually read it in a couple places. So the recruiter guy at the beginning,
Rio.
yeah,
Manny, I think his real name is Manny.
apparently he said something similar to what Frosto said to Billy earlier this season about helping raise two younger siblings or something.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if there was any connection with those two.
Interesting. Could be. Could be. Um, but wouldn't Prosto like know that he has like a family member who's
Yeah, he
recruiter?
would know.
Yeah,
So
but
maybe
that is
not. Maybe.
interesting. And to that point, getting back to shouting out the writer once again, and also the actor, is that like that whole dialogue where he was just telling Spencer about like how he grew up and what he did growing up, it just rolled off the tongue like it didn't feel forced. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And I just I enjoyed that. Like it felt real, it felt authentic. Um yeah, yeah. So yeah, and Spencer is back on his season 1.
Yeah.
AKA putting a lot of pressure on himself. He's, had some meetings with recruiters. There's been no official offers, and so he calls his teammates kids.
Yeah.
This man,
That's one of his preaching moments.
literally, like, what are you talking about, kids? Now, I hate that. Honestly, that is one of my pet peeves, and I need to like mark that down because I never know what to answer for that question. Like, what's your pet peeve? But one of my pet peeves is definitely when you're like a year older than someone and you're just like, oh, these kids nowadays, like, goodbye. That just, clearly got under my skin. But
Oh,
yeah, go ahead.
I'm just, I don't know. We'll see where this goes. I have a feeling he's going to get more offers. I don't think that's going to be. I mean, he took it because it was the only one available, but because
Not
he was
you
running.
coming for Spencer. You said,
I
oh, you don't
know,
got no
I
more
know.
offers. So
He don't, and he was happy, but you know,
this man had tears.
he did, he did. But I think there's going to be either another offer or
yeah, there's for
something
sure going to
else.
be more offers. I feel like the offers are going to start pouring in. Like that was what is it?
But
The breaking of the dam or the straw that broke the camel's back,
y-
something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's why they did that, to kind of like you said, move the story that he got an actual offer, because he's been whining every last
Yeah.
4 episodes about not having an
And
offer.
seriously, in talking about that, it's been so interesting because we have Chris missing once again.
Yeah,
We never get like the full like the actors who actually have storylines in the scenes with the
I
football. Like they're
know.
never there all at the same time. I will be shocked if everybody is accounted for during like come which this is a prediction, but when they make it to the championships, which I'm sure they
I
will.
hope so.
But like if we can get Chris, Frosto, what is it, Jabari, the female kicker, like
Yes,
Nani, like if we
Graham
could get them
here.
all in one place at one time, that would be amazing because I don't think that they've all been there like thus far. There's always like one missing. Um but yeah, Spencer was being intense and Chris was missing, so they had a backup QB, and he was just like, "Listen, don't trust this dude. Give it all to me. I'm gonna put you on my back. Just hand me the
Yeah.
ball." This man, it was fun to see. It was fun to see season 1 Spencer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously the Cam Dane mess because Westlake didn't kneel, and so Spencer was upset about that. On top of what happened with Jordan, and he got his little payback. We finally got the scene where Dane got knocked out by Spencer, which I'm surprised the ref didn't call anything. I was waiting for it,
I was too.
and he didn't.
I almost thought I was watching a real game. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
man, that was a hard hit.
Yeah, yeah. The funny thing is just like somebody on Twitter said, and this is so true. They were just like, Spencer really came to Crenshaw, and it's been nothing but trouble since. Like, really dragging Crenshaw. They're always in these like nail biter games. Like, it's always a struggle to get the win for Crenshaw. But yeah, Coach Billy Baker talking about some my advice is to be special. That's been one of the things that's been interesting to watch this season is to see how Coach Montez coaches versus Billy. Because Coach
Mhm.
Montez actually coaches and Billy just says
Right.
things.
Yeah, he's got these catchphrases and feel good,
Literally, I'm like, have I ever
feel good
heard Billy
quotes.
actually talk about like running plays or certain positions or
You know what? You're right.
And
Yep.
you know what? That's very real because I'm sure female coach has to be, has to like sort of like prove their
Yes.
knowledge of things,
Yes.
whereas men can just say things like be special and it's
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
Which, gotta get that out. And yes, yeah. So Spencer's superhero complex was in full effect, but then he realized, and your little tweet about Spencer X,
Yep. He makes a speech every episode.
every episode and talking about how they're kids and it should be fun and all that. Which he was, which I was just like, is Spencer angry because it's Coop's birthday? Did you get that sense, or what did you think about that?
No, no. I thought it was about football.
Yeah, I thought so too. There were a couple moments like when he had that flashback where I was just like, maybe he's just really sad because he's thinking about what Coop's 18th birthday meant and he's thinking about Sean. Like it's about the recruitment process and all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also about like Sean and Coop and that friendship and Sean not being alive for his 18th and stuff like that. So it was just interesting. But anyway, he ended up putting his team's needs before his own, which now that I think about it is actually a good connection and segue to what he ended up doing for Coop, which is he put Coop's needs sort of before his own.
Right.
He, brought Patience back early. Patience is finally back.
I'm
That
so
means Coop
happy.
is out of our hairs. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we need somebody to keep Coop in check and patience.
Literally, and Patience is going to keep Coop in check. We love that Patience is
Wait till
back.
she finds out though, because I'm sure she already
I'm sure
knows.
she knows.
Well,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
about her and Spencer.
Of
Does she know
who? About who and Spencer?
about
Coop and
Coop and
Spencer, or
yeah,
oh
yeah,
yeah,
Coop and
I feel like
Spencer.
Coop has told her. Coop has had to tell her. If she hasn't, then Coop's being a trash girlfriend again. Um, but yeah, I'm sure Patience knows. But it was. I'm not gonna lie, it was cute to see Spencer do that stuff for Coop, and then like watch from the sidelines. I wish he had gone in, but I knew he wasn't going to.
Yeah, Priest kind of looked at him like, "I see you."
Yeah, yeah, but it was just a cute, I don't like a proud friend moment. And again, like that's what brought us back to like I don't like the nostalgia of season one. It felt maybe that's it. It felt like a very nostalgic episode.
Yeah, it did.
Just in terms of everything that we saw
And
between like yeah, go ahead.
I noticed though, Coop has been different since the fallout
Mm,
because she's usually hyper, and even when
that's
she's
true.
she has been a lot more mellow. And I don't mean the Spencer type of, demeanor that
Yeah,
he's
but
had all
just
season.
like chill, almost down at points, almost like too focused on being perfectionistic. I'm thinking of like when she told Layla like we gotta get these beats right and blah 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 blah. And, you know what I mean?
Right. Yep.
Yeah. No,
So
that's
I
a good
think
point.
now that Patience is back, and I think once her and Spencer become, you know, friends
Cool
again,
again. Yeah.
then I think we'll start to see a little bit of the kind of funny, hyper, because he's really a drag right now.
She is. She is. And this is a good segue to the predictions. Thank you for listening to Film Study, an All-American podcast. Hope you enjoyed this episode review, and stay tuned for our next predictions videos where Kendra and I are gonna talk about episode 15 and 16. So get excited.